Dr. Charles Chen Yidan, founder of the Yidan Prize, Her Excellency, the Honorable Dr. Choi Yu-Kling, Secretary for Education, Government of the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region, Professor Micheline Chi and Mr. Shai Reshev, the 2023 Yidan Prize laureates, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. I'm very pleased to be with you today, and I bring you warm greetings from the United Nations in China. It is an honor to join this 2023 Yidan Prize Summit as we consider its theme, Ideas that Spark Change, a spotlight on solutions advancing education. Indeed, bright solutions and a change for the better are the hope that we must all strive for, given where we are today. We meet at a time of great uncertainties and profound divisions in the international community. We are running out of time to rescue the Sustainable Development Goals. In the last few years, our efforts have been severely hampered by the devastating impact of many crises. A global pandemic and its aftermath, a dramatically worsening climate, and devastating new conflicts. We have only just put the COVID-19 pandemic behind us. While its most significant effects have passed, its long-term consequences remain, particularly in low and middle-income countries. More worryingly, perhaps, pandemic preparedness is yet to be coordinated and strengthened globally. At the same time, the worst effects of climate change are here for everyone to see. Without prompt and drastic action, increases in global temperatures are set to be irreversible. With that, floods and tropical storms are becoming more frequent and extreme. Shortages of fresh water and insect pollinators are affecting agriculture. Mass species extinction makes for less resilient ecologies. Furthermore, violent conflicts are wreaking havoc in Gaza and Ukraine, in the Sahel and the Horn of Africa, in Syria, in Myanmar, and beyond. These wars, like all wars, create misery, death, and destruction. They reverse decades of gains in human development. They question our own sense of humanity. And yet, I agree with Dr. Charles, as he said, that amidst such darkness, there is still hope. Hope to face this uncertainty, to resolve our challenges, seize the many opportunities that still lie ahead, and build a better future. Like many of you today here, I believe that education is vital in getting us there, because education contributes to our economies, society, and to our sense of self, both as individuals and as members of our communities. However, unlike many of you here, I am not an education specialist. Unlike Professor Micheline Chi, I am not a luminary in science and teaching. I am not the founder of an innovative university like Mr. Reshev, nor am I a philanthropist committed to the cause of education like Dr. Charles Chen Yidan. I am an international civil servant and a UN diplomat. To most of you, I'm an outsider. But this hopefully allows me to provide a slightly different perspective on issues about which you know far more than I. That difference comes from looking at education from the context of my own experience as a UN official in multilateral discussions such as the long intergovernmental process that produced the SDGs in 2015 in New York, or now in their implementation in China, where I now serve. So with your permission, what I propose to do today is to offer several reflections and ask a few questions on the topic of quality education for our world, not from the perspective of an expert in the field, which I'm not, but from my own professional experience as a long-serving UN official at this specific juncture in international relations. My first reflection is that quality education is a relative rather than an absolute concept. Quality means relevance. In the case of education, it is relevance to the economic systems it serves. I first learned this at the beginning of my career as a junior economist in the late 90s at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. I was then joining the team that advised governments in Central and Eastern Europe on education reforms as part of the accession process to the European Union. Those were countries with strong educational tradition and high levels of educational quantity, both in terms of inputs, number of schools, teacher-student ratios, enrollment rates for boys and girls, and outputs, completion rates. The quality of those systems was also considered high, as indicated by levels of employment and a reputation of excellence in physics, mathematics, sciences, and engineering. However, once the Berlin Wall fell, many economies in the region soon after unraveled. Unemployment soared and structural reforms were called for. It became clear to us that those countries' education systems fitted an economic model that was either crumbling or no longer existed. Most of those countries had some form of centralized command economy, largely reliant on industry, where vertical hierarchies were dominant, and workers needed to dutifully execute instructions to operate machinery, meet production quotas, or fit large bureaucratic structures. With the transition to a market economy, however, the service industry became more prevalent, and with it, flat, horizontal, and often decentralized structures where workers had to think off their feet, think outside the box, and put customers first. As a result, the education system also needed to transition from one focus on memorization and rote learning to one focus on cognitive skills and problem solving. Now, fast forward a quarter of a century or so. What does it mean to provide an education system fit for the purposes of today's economy? How can that be done when our world changes as fast as this? A world where often the plan and the market coexist, as they do in China. A world where technological innovation drives not just what we make, but who we are. Can resilience, flexibility, and adaptation really be taught? What kind of education should underpin an economic system characterized by the accelerating pace of technological change, which has a profound, far-reaching implication for its economy and society? This leads me to my second observation. Technological innovation is no silver bullet. I realize that this may sound blasphemous. This is the Yidan Prize, after all, and technology is what made it possible. Undoubtedly, innovation is the engine of growth for our economies and the driver of progress in our societies. But technology is a means to a larger end, not an end in itself. Let me explain. The innovation of last years has been conceived and developed in a world of plenty, a resource-rich, unconstrained world of low cost of capital, high level of investments, and a naive belief that progress must mean disruption of industries, markets, and sectors. I see two main issues with this kind of innovation. The first is that it often leads to many meaningless innovations. For example, there are hundreds of applications, of apps, to order pizza online. The problem they solve, as the CEO of one of the world's largest pizza chain explained, is how to order a pizza in less than 17 seconds. Why 17 seconds? Because that is the average duration of a red traffic light in most cities. Now, that's what I call a first world problem. The second issue with this kind of innovation that we've had is that it generates a lot of unexpected consequences, some of them too expensive to ignore. Since Joseph Schumpeter has popularized the concept of creative destruction, we've known that innovation destroys to create. Still, in this transition from old to new, many people suffer, most often those left behind in our societies, the poorest and most vulnerable. It is no secret that in the last 30 years, inequalities have increased greatly across the world. So we now live in a resource-scarce world where the urgency of climate change and the impact of inequalities leave us no option but to innovate using less planetary and social resources. So what kind of education can foster a new type of frugal innovation, one that optimizes the use of our natural and human resources? Can innovation be taught? Is STEM education the answer? How many STEM graduates do we need? Or should we rather ask, what is the right mix of STEM and humanities in our curricula? My next reflection. Education is about more than teaching young people to become productive members of our economies. Education is more than just a conveyor belt that leads to employment. The quality of an educational system cannot just be measured in terms of labor market returns. Instead, education is about providing all young people with the opportunity to fulfill their potential, certainly as part of the labor force, but perhaps more importantly, as individuals, as members of their families, their community, and ultimately of our community of nations. The world today is home to the largest generation of young people in history, 1.8 billion. They want, and already do, contribute to the richness of their societies and the future of their nations. They put forward innovative solutions that drive social progress and inspire political change. At the same time, young people are also facing incredible and at times life-threatening challenges. In many parts of the world, these are disproportionately borne by girls and young women. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has made this all the more severe, as we've seen. And yet, young people remain engaged. They have risen to demand climate action. They're mobilizing for racial justice and gender equality. They are the champions of a more sustainable world. We owe them opportunities, including in the provision of quality education. So how do we do that? How can we ensure the education system realize the promise of the next generations? How can we invest in an education system that is holistic and inclusive? How do we expand access to affordable and high-quality technical and vocational education and training, especially for young women and low-skilled people who are underemployed or out of school? How do we convince leaders and adults everywhere, including in this room, to do everything possible to enable the world's youth to enjoy lives of safety, dignity, and opportunity? Ladies and gentlemen, these few reflections I brought for your consideration today are not in any way exhaustive, nor are they new. As for the many questions I have asked, I do not have the answers. What I do know, however, is that these very issues and the questions were addressed in the long intergovernmental process that led to the formulation of SDG 4 and its interlinkages with all other goals. And the fact that we have an agreement now of all of the 193 UN member states provides us with a blueprint for action. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development recognizes that education is the cornerstone of sustainable development, a universal human right and a powerful tool for ending poverty and inequalities. Quality education is not just one of the SDGs, but is the catalyst for achieving all the others. The 2030 Agenda underscores that education holds the transformative power to enhance economic status and improve outcomes, shaping societies and the lives of individuals. Education promotes lives and livelihoods. For each additional year of schooling, individuals increase their earning potential by 10%. Individuals with higher levels of education tend to be able to make healthier choices and live longer. Education also stands as a powerful instrument in the pursuit of gender equality. Countries with higher level of women's education experience lower maternal and child mortality rates. Educated women are more likely to participate in the workforce and contribute to the country's economies. Yet, as we reflect on our progress, we are reminded that millions of people still face significant barriers to quality education and functional literacy. Around 800 million adults worldwide lack basic literacy skills. An estimated 300 million students still lack the basic numeracy and literacy skills they need to succeed in life. Approximately a quarter of primary schools globally do not have access to basic services such as electricity, drinking water, and basic sanitation facilities. The COVID-19 pandemic exacerbated these disparities. Poor quality education, inadequate funding, and the impact of conflict and displacement have compounded educational inequalities. Issues of youth unemployment loom large, affecting many countries, including in China. These challenges pose obstacles to our pursuit of quality education and the 2030 Agenda. Without adequate investments, the potential offered by education will wither. We must reshape our education systems to equip young people with the skills necessary to navigate the changing job market, rapid technological advancements, and the evolving global landscape. Importantly, we must end all discrimination and barriers to accessing quality education, including laws and practices that restrict access for women and girls, persons with disabilities, and others. The Yidan Prize is a testament to your commitment to address these challenges. It provides not just financial resources, but also a platform and a network for the exchange of knowledge and ideas in promoting education as a tool for poverty reduction, social inclusion, and sustainable development. I congratulate Professor Miki Chi and Mr. Shai Reshev on receiving the 2023 Yidan Prize. May this prize be a recognition of your work and an affirmation to continue your pursuits. The United Nations stands with you and the rest of the Yidan Prize community in these efforts. We appreciate your passion and dedication to quality education and the SDGs. As we look forward to 2030 and beyond, our shared objectives are clear. As the UN Secretary General put it, let's deliver an education system that can support equal societies, dynamic economies, and the limitless dreams of every learner in the world. Thank you.